Hello, it's Mark from Snooker Crazy. I've been asked about scratches on acrylic badges, which is quite an interesting one. Wouldn't really bother me too much, but I guess if you've got a cue that you love and you have some scratches, then it's a visual thing and sometimes it probably would cheese you off. So we're going to do a quick video, hopefully fairly quick, on how to remove some of the scratches. Now I've got an unfinished cue here, which I've just stuck a badge in, proud of the cue itself, because I generally do this a little bit different. But if you take a look there, you can see the badge it's acrylic, it sticks out a lot, so all we're going to do is score the front. Now if you have a look, it's nice and shiny. So we can get a closer look at this. If you can focus on it, try and get towards the light. There you go. So, yeah, nice and shiny anyway. Very difficult in this light, but you get the idea. If it was that scratch, you wouldn't be able to see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to scratch it. I think what we'll do is you wouldn't generally get some 80 grit sandpaper, so we'll have a go. I want to do this without damaging the cue. Now, if this was your cue, my advice would be take it to a cue doctor. Give it to somebody who does this all the time. Very fiddly job. It's really easy to scratch the surface, and if you've got a nice looking cue, is it really worth the risk? But I keep getting the questions, so let's go through it. I would protect this with some probably electrical tape as much as you can. It's a little bit more sort of robust, or if you can get masking tape and then do it gently, but people have a tendency on jobs like this to go at it a little bit too hard, and once you've got a scratch you're then into doing the whole of the flat there. And to be honest, if I had to take that flat down level, I wouldn't be doing it with sandpaper. I'd probably do it with something like a second cut file, and just even if you do it with that and you're not used to doing it, you're going to score the wood. And it's just a whole world of height on your cue if you start off with a couple of scratches and you end up totally refurbishing your cue, especially if you're not sure what you're doing. So what we'll do is we'll scratch this, just show you how we would go over that. As I say, I'd put some electrical tape around there, but let's just do this proud. So 80 grit sandpaper, not at all you should put anywhere near your cue. You might skim a tip with it, but certainly wouldn't be doing this. You saw the badge was okay, so we're going to do our best to just put a couple of scratches in it. And if you do this on a badge, you probably want shooting. So just a couple of little scratches, but let's go overboard. Let's just say you're just about to see, I would imagine, well, you can barely read that now, that's for sure. So you've got more scratches than you're probably ever likely to have. So, how are we going to get that out? Depending on the depth of scratches, I'd go through the grades. So if it was really bad, it was proud, I'd start with a file, but we're going to imagine it's not. So for yourselves, it's the best way around. Depending on the size of the badge, if you've got a 16mm badge, it's pretty small. So you're going to have a job to put your finger in, you're just going to be turning it very slowly. And really it's going to take you forever to get this off. So again, last time I say it, hopefully, take it to a cue doctor or somebody that's got experience getting this out. I always put my thumb in there, but if you look at the size of that, you've got the size of my thumb, you're going to touch the edges, so it's going to be a bit of a pain. I would pick a small area and just slowly work it in. Difficult for you to see that, I'll just be turning it slowly. So I'd much prefer, myself, if it was me, I would just go straight over the whole surface, probably with 1200 slowly, and skim it that way. But you're going to have to re-oil it if you do that, and then obviously you've got to keep it around. That would be the easiest way, but we're just going to see what grades of sandpaper. So you would do this and take a lot more time over it. And all you really imagine is that the depth of the scratches on that badge, you're going to need to get something that's almost equivalent or slightly less, because you're actually taking off the acrylic down to that depth. It's the only way you're going to get rid of that. You know, it's not like you're mixing it in and it's going to go totally clear. So you would gently do it, keeping well away from everything else, until you're happy that you've got the bigger scratches out. And so this one here I've chosen 600. I wouldn't really want to go any less than that. If it really wasn't working and they were that deep, I would consider it, but at the end of the day I'd rather take a bit longer. So you saw how bad they were. That should take a while really, but so if I was in the workshop, which I can't today because we're snowed out, so I'll have this in a vise. But if I can do it like that, then you know it gives you a reasonable idea of what can be done. So far easier in a vise with some sort of electric belt sander maybe. Or as I say, some do, if they wanted to skim the whole lot, they just go straight over it with a second cut file and then move some 1200 over, I would think. But there's lots of different ways of doing it. So the hard bit is keeping this just skimming down from where you work, and if it's the paper's bent like that and you're doing it, you're actually scratching all of your butt, which would be a nightmare. So try and keep it away if you can. So I'm just continually pushing that finger in there. Still see quite a few scratches on the edge, so I'll carry on with that a bit. I know it's difficult for you to see that, but I'm not even looking at it really, because I know I've got to take it down reasonably deep just to get to the base of the scratches. So we'll do a little bit more. So the objective here is not to create more work than what you started with on the cue on the butt. Right. Probably looks worse. I know it looks worse, but to take the dust off. But it's just to make sure you don't see all the scratches. So I don't think you can get too much better than seeing from there. I'll have a look. That's probably reasonable. There's a little bit on there. Let's have a go at that. Can't really see too much in the video for a second, save me zooming it in and out, but you're getting the general picture. Right, rub a bit of the dust off. No, nothing like it was, is it? So let's take that out again. What we'll do now is we'll go up to 1200. I'd like to be for this job, really. And you're just going to do the same again. Just try and hold that up a bit. Just again, in the centre of the thumb, and just moving it around. You've got to feel your way a little bit as to what you're doing. If you just put it in the middle and keep doing it, it's almost like you're going to get a concave hole, but you've got to move it ever so slightly so you can feel all the pieces of the badge. But even when you get to the edge of the badge, don't forget you're going to be on the wood whether you like it or not. So that's why when you get to that, you don't really want to be getting to the edge too much with 600 and that. So, so it is really a specialist type job unless you're really confident. So I've had so many requests. I'll give you a good idea. If you want to practice, there's nothing to stop you getting hold of bandage if you can and drilling it into a bit of wood and having a go at that. makes. Right. But again, you've got to remember that even at 1200 you're still taking the acrylic off. Right, the badge is off because I've just stuck that, and I haven't let that go off enough. I did it for this video, but just look at the badge itself and you're getting an idea that it's starting to slowly go now and get more clearer. So we'll have a go with we'll go with some 3000. Right, this doesn't seem much. There's nothing on that at all, so you can't see what's coming off, but clearly there will be. So this is where it really should start, to take off the smaller parts. So normally if I've got a badge in there and I've stuck it, it's normally there 24 hours before I even touch it. But this one's only been in about a quarter of an hour, which isn't really enough, but you'll get the gist. This is the one that makes the most difference. If you've gone through the grades and you've worked it out properly, you really should start to get to a level where this is the one that skims the surface. Right, now you can probably, if you really get the light, I think you can probably see a few tiny ones on there. But considering what we've just gone from, you get a good picture. So I'm trying to make the light shine on it so you can pick all the scratches up. You can see a little couple of bits around there. And all I would do again is to, if they're deep ones, and I decided they're deep enough, I'll go back to the 1200. Or I would just continue on with the 3000. But when you go back to 1200, it seems like you've gone backwards because it's obviously taking a little bit more off. So if you rub your finger over it, you can get a good idea where you're back to. Wouldn't be far off of there, but again, as I say, if you've got to take a bit more off, find a particular section. 1200 will make it look 10 times worse again. Because the second you go on it, you're taking more plastic off, or acrylic. Let's go back again and just see. But I think you've pretty much got the idea. So I would definitely get, if it was me, I'd get someone that's done it before. If you've got your pride and joy in it, it seems madness just to save yourself a few quid. And someone's probably got all the machinery and done this 100 times, or, you know, in some probably 1,000 times. And I know exactly what's going on. So certainly give it some more thought as to whether you really think it's worth the risk. So I'm getting a few calls about it, but just where people have left things like sandpaper in their cue case. Let's see if we can get that across. You maybe you'll see a couple, and I can't see them because the light's not good in there, but if you rewind the video you can see how poor that was a minute ago and how it's gone, and all the, say, we're still on the edge here, so we're just showing what it's like taking the plastic off. Obviously I'd take that all the way back to the wood. So, a couple of things there. If you get yourself a new cue, you've got a nice acrylic badge, make sure you don't leave sandpaper in your or files or anything like that that's got all the grit that can actually get onto the badge itself and ruin the badge, whether it be acrylic or plastic, you know, or any of these sort of cheap type badges, it'll just wreck it. So if you're going to put it in there, which I've got it in mine, put it in a little plastic bag, just a tiny little one, fold it over, then you can put it under the cue, and then all the little bits of sandpaper and that won't get off. Touch your shaft and the cue's going up and down the case, or the badge is going up and down there, it's not going to scratch it and ruin it. And the worst thing is, as much as it's not good on a badge, if you get at this end, you'll feel it in the stroke and it'll drive you nuts. And I looked at one the other day that had 20 years worth of grit in there. You should have seen the state of the cue. It was just ridiculous. So, hopefully that's given you a good idea, and catch you on the next video.